Hello students, welcome to Laex Excellence. Welcome to the weekly Magazine-28 where we'll be focusing from 3rd September to 9th September 2017. So let's quickly look into the issues which are important from this week. There is a lot of debate happening in India with respect to electoral reforms. Some people are also questioning the first past post system where they want to bring in the proportional representation in India as well. So what are these? What should we think of? Should we go for presidential system? Should we go for prime ministerial form itself with some modifications within the parliament so that fair representation is available for the smaller? So if we start doing all these things, what are the major things that we are leaving out if it comes to funds? So all these issues has to be covered in your essay. So electoral reforms is very, very important, and if you can write this, it will be very helpful to cover your governance part where you will be reading about Representation of People's Act. The next important issue from geography point of view and environment and ecology point of view, where UPSC may ask you in prelims, is actually with respect to Buxa Tiger Reserve, which is actually present in West Bengal. Here the government is planning to reintroduce tiger. It actually comes under National Tiger Conservation Authority. Now they are planning to increase the number of tigers in this region. If we actually look at this reserve, it has moist deciduous forest and also evergreen forest. Remember, these are on the eastern Himalayas, so they get very good rainfall. And it is closer to your Assam and also Bhutan. So some important factors that you need to consider is with respect to geography. But I would suggest, if you can remember that there is a plan to reintroduce tigers in this particular reserve, it is more than enough. The next important issue is actually with respect to the Korean Peninsula, where the Korean War is actually taking place. When we actually look at the Second World War, the Korea was under the control of Japan. And once Japan was defeated by United States of America, USSR started capturing from north. And the Western forces started capturing from south. And United Nations had to come in between and pass a resolution to say that 38th parallel will be the line which actually separates the North Korea under USSR and South Korea under United States. There was a United Nations resolution which actually said that elections has to be held in North and South Korea, and it is for the people to decide what should actually happen. The South went for elections, but the North did not participate. So you actually see Republic of Korea being established in South and People's Republic of Korea or Democratic People's Republic of Korea being established in the North. Now, once this was actually established, both Koreans were not happy about this division. At that point of time, in 1950, we usually observe that almost around 75,000 soldiers from North Korea, which were backed by USSR, started attacking the South. And at this point of time, there was international condemnation. Even India condemned North Korea and USSR at this point of time. When the entire Korea was captured and only a small portion was left, the US forces came and they started fighting. At that point of time, again, they went back, and today the border looks something like this. Right? So this is what we call as an important tension which erupted in Cold War era, and it's very, very important today because of the North Korea and South Korea. From world history point of view, please try to see this carefully. This is a time when we actually see hurricanes, typhoons, cyclones affecting different parts of India and world. When we talk about hurricane, it is actually affecting the Gulf of Mexico. Typhoon affects China. Cyclones are in Indian Ocean, and Willy Willy are in Australia. So now when we are actually talking about hurricanes, if you actually take the continents, they are present on the eastern side of the continent. If you see Gulf of Mexico is on the eastern side, Bay of Bengal is on the eastern side, then if you see South China Sea, it is also on the eastern side. And why do you usually see? You have warm currents present on the eastern side, and we also observe that along with this warm currents, the trade winds accumulate hot water on the eastern sides. Very, very important for you to consider this. No need to remember Hurricane Irma in detail, but you need to know what are the differences between different hurricanes and cyclones affecting different parts of world. Next, with respect to international relations, it is very, very important for us to understand recent Prime Minister's visit to Myanmar as well. Especially when the world is talking about the Rohingya refugees and they are criticizing different parts of the world for not accepting Rohingya refugees. They're also criticizing Myanmar for what they call to be genocide or ethnic cleansing. India has been conscious to use the word genocide with respect to this, mainly because we need to have very good relations with Northeast India. When we talk about any of the ASEAN countries, we need to consider the problems with respect to internally when we talk about the Northeast. Not every Northeast has issue, but there are few groups within Northeast who want separatism. They are fighting for this separatism from long time. Initially, it was fueled by China, later Myanmar, Pakistan and later Bangladesh has actually helped these separatist movements in creating trouble. Whenever Sheikh Hasina government is in power, and after we had good relations with Myanmar, today we see that most of these northeastern separatist movements have actually come to an halt. They are in peace agreements with the central government because India has maintained good relations with these countries. So from that point of view, it is very important for us to have a look at what is India's relationship with Myanmar. Though Burma was also part of British India, Mahatma Gandhi always felt that we cannot say that the cultural relations between India and Burma are same. They said that Burma has to be a separate country and India has to be a separate country, even though they're all part of British India. So there was no need of talking about partition when it comes to Burma because our freedom fighters had actually accepted the cultural differences between the two sides. And after independence, Nehru had developed good relations with the prime ministers of Myanmar, and Myanmar also saw democracy in the beginning. But later, with the military coup, we actually see not only the rise of military but also Buddhist religion and their supporters getting more power. Whenever a country is dominated by religion, then the monks usually play a very important role. But this did not help in India anyway because India was criticizing Myanmar in different international forums, whereas China was supporting them. And this led to Pakistan-Burma-China nexus, which created lot of tensions in Northeast India. Only after 1971, Bangladesh War of Independence, we see some peace process. Later, Burma's role cannot be neglected. But after 1990s, when P.V. Narasimha Rao talked about Look East policy, the main ambition was to consider the Northeast and its relation with the ASEAN countries so that India can try to develop its Northeast. So at that point of time, when we were actually talking about the Northeast India and its development, India started developing good relations with Myanmar. And as we have to develop good relations with Myanmar, we started offering cultural tourism to the Buddhist monks to Bodh Gaya and other places which are of historical significance for Buddhists. And Buddhists actually took this as a very important note and started having good relations with India, and they pressurized their governments to have good relations with India. Over a period of time, India has achieved some of the important projects in the form of Kaladan multi-nodal project, or when it comes to Sitwe port, we are trying to build the infrastructure so that we can actually connect from West Bengal to Sitwe port and then from Sitwe port through Kaladan river to Mizoram, so that there is an alternative route to Siliguri corridor to reach to Myanmar. Initially, China was also thinking of Sitwe port, but Myanmar has given the access to India. So these are some of the things. Recently, there were elections and Aung San Suu Kyi has come to power, but Myanmar is conscious that it wants to maintain good relations with both China and India. It doesn't want to trouble its relations and it doesn't want to be in between the two rising powers of Asia. So because of this, whenever the Prime Minister had visited, we have tried to ensure that we have good relations, and at the same time, Chinese have also tried to maintain good relations with Myanmar. And at different international forums, we try to develop good relations. India and ASEAN countries are working on different international projects like RCEP, that is Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership. Myanmar and India are part of this. Remember, India is not part of ASEAN. There is some mistake when we were actually discussing one weekly vaccine. And then when we talk about BIMSTEC, so here you have Bangladesh, India, Myanmar. Again, Myanmar is actually present in BIMSTEC. Then we have Mekong-Ganga cooperation. India plus 5 landlocked ASEAN countries are also part of Mekong-Ganga cooperation, and in these international forums, India is planning to have good relations with Myanmar. The next important issue is actually with respect to joint military exercises. We had one with Nepal and the another one with Sri Lanka. On the basis of its terrain, we usually try to have the military exercises with that particular country. You may ask me, what is the significance of these military exercises? Whenever wars happen and different countries come together to fight against other countries, it is very important for them to cooperate together to fight against a third country. Let's take world wars when Germany and Japan has to fight together against the other forces. Germans don't know Japanese language, Germans don't know Japanese technology, they don't know their weapons, they don't know their codes. So they cannot fight together in the battle. But whenever they do these exercises, some basic things will be exchanged between both the countries so that it would be very easy for them to come together and fight. Earlier, countries were a bit skeptic because any country may fight with any other country. But today, the interstate wars has reduced a lot, and if at all there will be wars, either there would be a world war or there would be war between state and non-state actors. Basically, we are fighting against the terror groups, piracy and others. Whenever we need to fight against these groups, we should be careful that our militaries or navies should actually fight in such a way that we are in a position to defeat others together. So to ensure that the communication and also best technology is transferred between troops, we have different exercises being conducted with different countries. The first important thing is actually with respect to Indo-Nepal, and the name of this is very, very important. UPSC has not yet asked, but there is high possibility they may ask this at any time. So Indo-Nepal joint exercise is Surya Kiran, and when we talk about Laex, it is between India and Sri Lanka. With respect to social justice, the Niti Aayog has actually planned for National Nutrition Strategy, where they talk about Kuposhan Mukt Bharat, where it is linked to Swachh Bharat and Swasth Bharat. They are planning to implement this by converging health services, food, drinking water and sanitation, and also increase the livelihood and income levels of the families so that they can take care of these children. It's very important for us to focus on this mainly because it is said that almost around 20% of children under 5 years of age suffer from wasting due to acute undernutrition. And it is also believed that this has led to infant mortality rate. It is still in the proposal stage, so we need to see what exactly they will be talking with respect to this. The next important issue we need to see is actually with respect to BRICS summit, especially the Xiamen declaration. There are certain declarations which are very important. One is Fortaleza declaration, which you might have heard with respect to the formation of new development bank. Similarly, we need to talk about the Xiamen declaration, where the BRICS countries have actually accepted that there are some terror groups operating from Pakistan. For the first time, China's platform has accepted that yes, there is some sort of terrorism originating in Pakistan and actually having impact on others. So just be careful with respect to this particular declaration. Along with this, some of the important areas that you need to focus is actually with respect to BRICS local currency bond market. The meaning of this is, among BRICS countries there should be some bond markets which are available in the local currency rather than relying on dollars. Second important thing, they are focusing on BRICS Institute of Future Networks, which may be important from stocks point of view. Then science and technology, where research, development, information and communication technology, big data, data analysis, 5G, artificial intelligence, that is almost everything associated with science and technology. This point is important for mains. Please read all this with respect to science and technology once, because whatever is important in current affairs is being discussed in this particular summit. Then they agree to strengthen BRICS cooperation on energy and work to foster open, flexible and transparent markets. Most importantly, it is associated with economy. But here we also talk about other energy measures like fossil fuels and wider use of gas, hydro, nuclear power to move towards low emission economy. So if we can talk about the role of BRICS in climate change here, it would be very helpful. It is proposed to be established in India, which will serve as a virtual network facilitating cooperation in priority areas. Very important, right? Anything in India becomes important. At last, they also spoke about terrorism, right? Counter-terrorism coalition, which is very important to fight. Prime Minister has also talked about certain things. Create a safer world by actually countering terrorism, cyber security and disaster management. Please remember, this is what we propose in the world. So in your answers, if you can bring all these issues and try to say that today the world has to come together on these things, it would be a game changer for your answer. We need to act against climate change. We need to ensure that there is efficiency, economy and effectiveness in technologies so that there is reduced wastage and increased efficiency of products. The economic system should help people and it should reach to the people and focus on digital world. In India, it is Digital India, Skill India, skilled world, Healthier India, healthier world. And we need to ensure that equal opportunity is provided with gender equality. We need to ensure that there is free flow of goods, persons and services, especially when there is so much protectionism growing in the world. And then you need to talk about a harmonious and connected world, right? So whenever we are talking about how should the world come together to ensure that we are having good relations, so these are the areas which provide unique opportunity to the world to come together today. The next issue is actually with respect to undersea pipeline from Iran to Indian port to ensure that the gas pipeline will be there so that the gas can be received at a cheaper cost and it would avoid Pakistan. So let's see what exactly the plan is. Initially, the government had plans to connect from the Arabian Peninsula to the Gujarat coast. And we wanted to connect from Iran, Pakistan to India. Unfortunately, Pakistan is not allowing this project to happen. So what India felt, why shouldn't we connect Iran to this pipeline and try to extend it so that we can receive oil and natural gas not only from Arabian Peninsula but also from Iran. And we have also asked Iran that we would try to extend this to Tajikistan and other Central Asian countries so that we can utilize these gases from their areas as well. That is, we can utilize these pipelines to import gases from these areas as well. It is believed that if this project becomes successful, then there won't be any issues at all. No security threat, but the only point is one-time installation will be very costly. And once if it is implemented, then we will get oil and natural gas at a cheaper cost. One scheme of India has been appreciated and it has been implemented in Malaysia. That is actually with respect to Unnat Jyoti by affordable lighting for all, that is Ujala scheme, where the LED bulbs will be actually given by the government to the poor so that they can effectively use this. So whenever we are talking about the Ujala scheme, it's very important for us to read this year, mainly because the success of it is being accepted by other countries and they are also following it. At that point of time, high possibility UPSC may ask you with respect to Ujala scheme in India, what are the things available? So Ujala is a flagship under Government of India, not of state government, where it wants every home in India to use LED bulbs so that the power charges or power consumption rate will be less and it will also emit less carbon dioxide, contributing to reduction in carbon dioxide emissions. The second important thing, the main objective is to promote efficient lighting, reduce wastage, enhance awareness on use of this equipment. Over a period of time, people will be in a position to use this. Next, we also look at the domestic efficient lighting program, where the focus is to distribute, and then its purpose is not only to help reduce but also to contribute towards energy security. Again, the same things we write in different languages. LED bulbs have a very long life, almost 50 times more than ordinary bulbs and 8 to 10 times that of CFLs. Very important, right? So these factors we need to consider whenever we are talking about the Ujala scheme. Please prepare, high possibility they may ask you questions with respect to this. The next important case study which we can use in different areas, whether it is essay or when it comes to the role of community in environment, we need to talk about the Odisha villagers who have grown the siali leaves to ensure that the demand is started coming back and they are trying to contribute to the environment as well. Villagers have started growing siali and the produce will give them dividends in the long run. So we need to understand that this will try to replace plastics with biodegradable plates, which are of high demand not only in India but in the European markets as well. This would actually help both to remove plastics and at the same time it would also help the farmers to get a fair income. The next proposal is actually with respect to investing in ecosystem, where it is believed that if we can invest in this, then it will have long-term impact. When we talk about 11% of world's floral and faunal resources present in India, then we need to also know that if we don't protect it, then there will be other costs issued or involved in this. If we don't maintain our environment properly, then there is high possibility that you need to pay for health services and others. So here it tries to say that there should be something called as natural capital, where investment should not be there only in business but also in ecosystems, so that if we can maintain these ecosystems, there would be long-term benefits for the country and also for the world. The next issue, which is very important from both 2017 mains point of view and also 2018 mains point of view, is with respect to the smart cities mission. Whenever we speak about development, first we need to understand that there are some basic problems which are present in our cities. For example, NGT has actually spoken about pollution, sanitation issues, and we also come across traffic and other urban issues. There are some nature related issues as well, where we are seeing heat waves, we are observing rainfall, floods, and the main reason for these floods, as I have told in the last magazine, it is with respect to improper management. Our systems still run on the British models. Mumbai is completely dependent still on the British models, and these are filled with plastic and other dirt today. This has reduced space and this has led to lot of disasters. When we are talking about urban development and expansion of urban areas, we are trying to encroach the wetlands, and this has created lot of problems. Karnataka government has gone to the extent of converting these encroached territories into legal ones by giving permission for that. But the biggest issue is, if you start giving like this becomes a role model for all the states to adopt it, and they will encourage more wetlands to be captured and again allowing the construction to take place. Here we should understand that these wetlands have weak structures below. Even if houses are there, it cannot sustain in the long run. So we are troubling ourselves in future. At the same time, we are troubling our environment. So we should be careful when it comes to these issues. So we are talking about climate smart technologies, and development has to be on the basis of climate smart, especially in urban areas, to prevent all these nature related issues. The next important issue is the Supreme Court's judgment on Gaurakshaks or vigilantes, who are actually taking up law and order in their hands. If the state government has made a policy that illegal cows, if they are being trafficking, it has to be punished, then it has to be done by the state government, but it cannot be done by the locals or communities. Indians become hypocritic when they talk about these issues whenever they are cultural issues associated with women, eve teasing, death of few people due to traffic. At that point of time, we don't help those people. But when it comes to cow or protection of their culture, they come unite and fight against the minorities or the exclusion sectors. If I talk about minorities, I'm not talking only about Muslims or Christians, religion wise, I'm also talking about caste and gender wise. So if we talk about moral policing, when we see eve teasing, when we talk about moral policing, if the community comes together and help the person who has met with an accident with free aid, if there are these good Samaritans across, and then when they talk about protection of cow, then this would be seen as our society taking cautious efforts to protect its nature. But only when it comes to certain aspects, religious aspects for political purposes, if this is done, then it has to be condemned to the core. Supreme Court's message has to be welcomed, and the government has to take effective measures. Not only the central government has to bring out a broader plan, but when it comes to the state governments, it is the responsibility of the state governments to enforce law and order strictly. We know that the deserts are actually expanding in the world. In Jordan, to ensure that these deserts are being controlled and these desert lands are used for organic farming or agricultural farming, they are using the solar energy. They are using some paste to prevent moisture content being evaporated in the deserts, and they are trying to use the desalination plants so that they can effectively use this water not only for drinking purposes but also for farming. So if this can become successful, this would be a role model. We have seen that China is also coming up similar to this, where it is also planning to develop forests on these deserts. They have some paste which are being mixed with the soil, which usually absorbs these moisture contents and retains it. As it retains the moisture content for long, this would help the deserts to grow certain plants in those areas. And to prevent excess sun rays falling, they are planning for some sort of greenhouse chambers where this will reduce the impact, or this would reduce the sun's rays passing through these glass chambers. So if all this becomes successful, we are expecting that the deserts would be reduced over a period of time. At last, on the basis of recent minister's daughter getting scholarship, we have made a integrity based case study. Please just go through this and try to answer them. By this time, I hope all of you have got weekly magazine evaluation papers. So if there is any queries left, please feel free to contact us at 9972000318. Students who need this magazine, they are again messaging me. So please log in here. It's available. Even if you need the previous magazines, just intimate us. We will be sending it to you. Thank you guys. Thanks for watching.